Members, please take your seats. Sergeant at Arms, please secure the doors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President.
All right, this evening we are pleased to have Father Joseph Pierce from St. John Vianney Catholic Church in Prince Frederick, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from District 27. Members, please rise for the invocation.
Lord our God, by your will all creation is given right order through the mystery of your eternal law. This same truth is mirrored in our human ability and desire to bring harmony, justice, and peace to the affairs of daily life. Through our intellects, you show us this truth and give us the capacity for right judgment, to seek the good for ourselves and others. So too, through our ability to choose, we are empowered to act with right common good. These attributes enable us to discover your divine presence in the affairs of your people. Because of your providence, truth and justice are able to meet in the laws we share as your people. As the members of the Senate gather, we ask that they be granted your eternal presence in what they seek to accomplish on behalf of the people of our state. May your truth guide them and let your justice be their aim. Give to all who fashion law on behalf of the people of Maryland wisdom to do what is right, avoid the expedient, and always seek the common good. As we all say, amen.
Chair recognizes the Senator's Special Day from District 27.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It's a pleasure to welcome Father Joseph Pierce, pastor of St. John Vianney Catholic Church in Prince Frederick, Maryland. Father Pierce and his church do great work in Prince Frederick and throughout Calvert County. I'd ask these words of his prayer be journalized. Thank you.
Without objection, we will most certainly journalize the Reverend's excellent invocation this evening. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. And,
yeah. Oh, did I miss something? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Has everybody recorded their presence in the chamber? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now in session. Senators, just our regular reminder, we're getting close. Weather's getting nicer, although it may get a little cooler. Keep up the vigilance, please. We've seen some positivity rate go up across the state a little bit. We've done so well so far. So we got 2 weeks left. Hard to believe, but just 2 weeks left. But just the regular reminder to keep up that vigilance this week, especially as crossover happens. We've got people traveling back and forth and negotiating compromises. Just remember, please stay vigilant. All right, any announcements today? Any comments before we jump into things? If not, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We've got a message from the House. These are bills passed by yeas and nays, so it looks like the House is getting our bills across. Clerk will read the bills.
Senate Bill 8, Senator Kagan, General Provision, State Song Repeal. Senate Bill 12, Senator Heddleman, Maryland Office of the Inspector General for Health.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. Next, we have a message from the House. These are first reading House bills. Calendar 29. Clerk will read the bills.
House Bill 625, Prince George's County Delegation. Prince George's County Alcoholic Beverages, Alcohol Density Zones and Licenses, PG 307-21.
Majority Leader moves so be considered the reading of the bills. These will all go to the Rules Committee. All right, Senators, I think we now have everyone here. I think tonight we've got a lot of work to do. Let's start with all of the, if there are no objections, let's get the Senate bills moving across the board, and then we'll take up the House bills afterwards. We do have everyone, let's do a quick quorum call because we have a third reading calendar of Senate bills.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, Senate Maryland remains in session. We've got third reading calendar number 54. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 172, Senator Hayes, Maryland Health Equity Resource Act. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 172 is on third reader for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 172, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 199, Senator McCray, Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration Funding and Mark Rail Extension Study, Transit Safety and Investment Act.
Senate Bill 199 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 38 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 199, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 740, Senator Rosapeth, Economic Development, COVID-19 Small Business Grant Program, COVID-19 Crisis Small Business Survival Program Act of 2021. This is an emergency bill.
Senate Bill 740 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 740, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we have a special order. These are two of the executive nominees. We'll take them up one by one. These were on Friday. So the clerk will read the first nominee.
Executive Nominations Report Number 7, Nominee Number 3. Question is, will the Senate advise and consent to the nomination of the executive?
So question before the body is on report number 7, nominee number 3. Nominee number 3. Any discussion? Chair recognizes Senator from District 19.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The questions I have, that I had have been answered, and I appreciate the work of executive noms. This is a qualified individual, so my concerns have been addressed.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. Oh, just at the end. With 47 votes, the Senate advises and consents affirmatively to nominee number 3. Clerk will read the next nominee.
Executive Nominations Report Number 7, Nominee Number 5. Question is, will the Senate advise and consent to the nomination of the executive?
Question is on executive nominations number 5 from report 7. Chair recognizes Senator from District 19.
Thank you, Mr. President. Likewise, my concerns have been addressed, and I would just like to point out that this new commission, the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, which likely will morph in the not too distant future into alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis, it's exceedingly important that the governor provide this body with very strong, well-qualified candidates. There is a vacancy at the moment that will need to be filled, and I hope that the governor ensures that whomever the governor appoints will be extremely well qualified to take on the important duties of this new commission, because it has an exceedingly important role to play for the residents of our great state. Thank you, Mr. President, and this is a well-qualified candidate.
Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you for that observation. It is an important commission moving forward. All right, any further discussion on nominee 5? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, nominee on report number 7, number 5, has been advised and consented affirmatively by the Senate of Maryland. All right, we've got some second reader reports here. Let's start with Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs. This is report 32. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 449, Senator Kagan, Public Information Act revisions, Equitable Access to Records Act, favorable with 3 amendments.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We all believe in transparency, and yet sometimes it is either too expensive or too delayed for the press or advocates or our own constituents to get access to information about what their government is doing. Senate Bill 449 simply updates and expands that, makes everything more affordable. There are 3 amendments. The first is technical. The second clarifies that there will be 2, not 4 as originally indicated, representatives from the Attorney General's office to support the work of the Ombudsman and the Compliance Board, delays the effectiveness date. Amendment 3 makes clear that rather than October 1st of this year, that this bill would go into effect July 1st of 22. It passed the committee unanimously. I move the favorable report as amended, Mr. President.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 3 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 3 committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? Chair recognizes the senator from District 9. Nope. On the report, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 449 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 723, Senator Hester, Maryland Food System Resiliency Council, favorable with 1 amendment. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, over the past year, we've all seen food insecurity rise in our districts, long lines at the food bank, and I know that we've all done our best to help. Senate Bill 723 is an emergency bill that establishes the Maryland Food System Resiliency Council. This council will meet for at least 2 years to address food insecurity in the state, including food insecurity resulting from COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic crisis. The bill establishes governing membership, procedures and duties, and related requirements. There is 1 committee amendment which removes the Department of Health at their request from the council. There was no opposition in the committee, and it received a unanimous, an unanimous vote out of committee. I urge the adoption of the amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 1 committee amendment and the favorable committee report. First on the amendment. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The 1 committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 723 is hereby ordered printed for 3rd reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 851, Senator Huff, Frederick County Board of Education vacancies, favorable with 2 amendments.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 33 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 851 is a local Frederick County bill having to do with filling vacancies on Board of Education. As amended, this bill establishes a process for filling a vacancy on the Frederick County Board of Ed. If a vacancy of an elected member occurs 30 days or less before a specified candidate registration deadline, the Frederick County Executive shall appoint, subject to confirmation of the County Council, an individual to fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term. If the vacancy occurs more than 30 days before a specified deadline, the County Executive appoints an individual temporarily, serve only until a successor is elected, and qualifies at the next general election. Mr. President, there were 2 amendments. The first one is technical. The second establishes the process for appointing and electing an individual to fill a vacancy, a vacating member of the county board's seat, depending on when the vacancy occurred. Move the two amendments in the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the two committee amendments in the favorable committee report. Question on the amendments? Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The two committee amendments are adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report is amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 851 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 948, Senator Klossmeyer, Veteran Affairs, Office of Communications and Public Affairs, Veterans Advocacy and Education Act, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Charles County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, Senate Bill 948 is a departmental bill that renames the Outreach and Advocacy Program within the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, renames them to the Office of Communications and Public Affairs. This office, in collaboration with the Maryland Higher Education Commission, must actively help veterans and their dependents become aware of and access educational and training benefits to which they are entitled. This bill alters and expands the responsibilities of the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs and the office as they relate to veteran services, including the contents of the department's annual report. The bill also makes stylistic and conformant changes. I move for the favorable adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 948 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, let's go to JPR with some calendar with Senate bills. This is calendar number 25. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 515, Senator Klossmeyer, Criminal Procedure, Registered Sex Offenders, Entry onto School Property, favorable with two amendments. This is an emergency bill.
Oh, yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 29 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 515 deals with criminal procedure, registered sex offenders, entry onto school property. As amended, this repeals the authorization of a student who is a registered sex offender to, under certain circumstances, enter onto real property that is used for public or non-public elementary or secondary education, or on which a registered family child care home or licensed child care home or child care institution or a home used for informal child care is located. The bill says that if they are a sex offender, they still are required to attend school. They are just not attending school with other children. And it is a scenario where the home and hospital teaching program for students participating requires the Regional Institute for Children and Adolescents. Each county board of education must develop and adopt a policy that enables and ensures that a registered sex offender who is a student to continue receiving an education as required under the bill. There were two amendments. Amendment 1 was technical. Amendment 2 provides for the location in which a sex offender registrant is authorized to receive an education. Move for the adoption of the favorable report and the two amendments.
Floor leader moves to the adoption of the two committee amendments and the favorable committee report. Questions on the two amendments? Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my apologies to the floor leader. So committee counsel and some folks, advocates, have brought an issue of concern up to us. We have an amendment to address that concern. I want to make sure that the committee has an opportunity to review that amendment before we tack it on here. So if we could, I'd ask if we have the committee, the report and the two amendments lie over under the rules until tomorrow so we can get that prepared so that the committee can review it.
Okay. The senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendments will lay over under the rule. Does chair recognize the senator from District 10? What? Okay. All right. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 888, Senator Bidle, Anne Arundel County Speed Monitoring Systems, Maryland Route 175, Jessup Road, favorable.
Chair recognizes the senator from Baltimore City and County. The floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill authorizes the placement of speed monitoring systems in Anne Arundel County on Maryland Route 175 between Maryland Route 175, 295 interchange and the Anne Arundel County, Howard County line, subject to existing signage and placement requirements for speed cameras. The bill has the support of the Anne Arundel County delegation. Mr. President, I move the adoption of this favorable committee report.
Floor Leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Question is on the report. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Question now, are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, Senate Bill 888 is hereby ordered printed for third reader. All right, we've got another JPR calendar of a Senate bill. This is 26. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 852, Senator Huff, Crimes, Penalties, and Procedures, Violent Firearms Offender Act of 2021, favorable with 2 amendments. This is an emergency bill.
Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. As amended, this emergency bill alters the provisions and penalties pertaining to several firearms-related offenses, expands the definition of crime of violence under 14101 of the criminal law article, and requires the Commissioner of Correctional Services to provide each inmate a re-entry kit containing specified items for information prior to release from a state correctional facility. It also expands the list of cases which the state may appeal from specified evidentiary decisions, and it specifies that a violation of a condition of probation or parole or mandatory supervision involving use or possession of a firearm is not a technical violation. There are 2 amendments. One is technical. The second one strikes provisions of the bill relating to the theft of a firearm and release by a district commissioner. I'd ask that the bill and the 2 amendments lie over under the rules.
The senator's motion is in order. The bill and the amendments will lay over under the rules. All right, let's go back to Education, Health, Environmental Affairs, back to our House bills. This is calendar number 33. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 183, Delegate Learman, Public Information Act, Revisions, Equitable Access to Records Act, favorable.
Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is the cross-file bill, and they are amended so as to be identical. This version we waited for, and there are no amendments. Move the favorable report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 183 is ordered passed for third reader. All right, we are now on report for the Committee on Budget and Taxation. We got a big one here. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 590, the Speaker, Maryland Consolidated Capital Bond Loan of 2021, favorable with 128 amendments.
Just
128.
That would caught me off guard. Chair recognizes the able and clearly productive chair of the Capital Subcommittee.
We'll find out. Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the Senate Budget and Tax Committee has completed its review of the fiscal 2022 capital budget of the state of Maryland and presents its report to you today. It's that package there up on your desk there if you want to go through it tonight and ask questions tomorrow. And I would appreciate if maybe you could text me tonight or tomorrow morning so I could answer them personally. Let me begin by expressing my appreciation for the opportunity to serve as the chairman of the Capital Budget Subcommittee, Mr. President, and with the assistance of the Budget and Tax Chair, my Vice Chair, and the Capital Budget Subcommittee Chairs, and the Budget and Tax Committee was able to efficiently and equitably develop the capital budget you have before you. Finally, I want to thank the staff of the Office of Policy Analysis for their guidance and assistance. Really special thanks to Matthew Klein, Emily Haskell, Ann Wagner, and my Chief of Staff, Lloyd Morris, who work closely with DLS staff on all of the Senator's capital priorities. For the 2021 session, the Spending Affordability Committee set our debt limit at $1,105 million. The capital budget before you is within that limit and is affordable under the state's debt affordability criteria. I will remind the body that the capital budget is the state's government's best job creation tool. Funding in this capital budget will create and maintain thousands of direct and indirect jobs and leverage approximately $2 billion of local and private funds by the state's capital spending. And then once again, Mr. President, we made public school construction a priority. In addition to the $2.2 billion that we voted on before on the Build to Learn program, over the next 4 years, we also budgeted $320 million this year for public school construction projects throughout the state, which leverages another $500 million in local funding participation to build schools and modernize classrooms. We also directed additional funds to programs that assist local governments and committees with projects that address building resilient infrastructures and communities. In addition to the needs of the state agencies, the committee considered a record, and we have a new record now, 245 legislative bond initiative projects totaling over $75 million. The capital budget before you includes $20 million for Senate projects, $20 million for House projects that represent an infusion of capital funds to stimulate investment at the local level. I'll make a note, I've been doing this for 15 years, and it used to be $7.5 million each, so you can see there's a lot more money here for the local jurisdictions. Our efforts focused on assisting the people and organizations that have suffered the most. During the COVID-19 crisis, we've provided funds, and I should say you've provided funds, the senators, through your projects, for food pantries, reentry programs, family crisis and battered spouse centers, hospitals that assist children with mental health issues, as well as providing additional funding to our HBCUs. Mr. President, I'd like to request to lay over HB 590 until the appropriate time tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Senator. The Senator has moved to lay over the bill with the amendments, which we will entertain. Just wanted to thank the Senator yet again. I didn't mean to laugh, but it was a testament to how much work has gone into this. For everything with the budget this year, it has been an unbelievably complicated, complex year. This was no exception. The capital budget, hopefully we'll have smooth sailing tomorrow, which I assume, but it was a lot of work to make sure that smooth sailing was possible. I want to thank the members of the chairman, the members of the committee, as well as all the staff who really have worked so hard to make this possible. So thank you all. Yes, please. Thank you. And we will lay the bill and the amendments over under the rule. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
I just wanted to add, and I don't like to compliment that senator too often because we kind of jab at each other all the time. But something that I think a lot of people don't know is the fact that good senator went all over the state looking at projects. He didn't just take phone calls from people. He's been all over the place looking at every project, or almost every project. So I congratulate him for all the work he's put in on this.
Agreed. Thank you for that observation, Madam Majority Leader. That business background helps us stay. Agreed. Certainly helps keep our pencils sharp, too. Keep us within our limits, and also just recognize that every part of the state has so many amazing assets for us to build on. So love that budget. The capital budget is one of our greatest tools, as the Senator said. All right. Where are we? We are on layover calendar, it appears. Layover calendar number 19. Clerk will read. Oh, before I get there, Senators, please, if you do have a question, please reach out to the chair of the Capital Subcommittee beforehand, so that the numbers are all very tight. So, got to make sure if any amendment to the capital budget can throw everything out of whack. All right, let's go to the layover calendar. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 30, Delegate Corman, Office of People's Counsel, alterations, Office of People's Counsel, Environmental Reform Act. Question is on the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable report.
All right, the question before the body is on the one committee amendment. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The one committee amendment is adopted. Question now on the favorable committee report as amended. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the report say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The favorable committee report as amended is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 30 is hereby ordered passed for third reader. Let's see. All right, let's do these third reading calendars. I think we have everybody here. Let's just do a quorum call just in case.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 47 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. We have third reading calendar number 3. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate third reading calendar number 3, consent calendar number 3.
All right, Senators, this is a consent calendar on third reading for final passage. So all bills on this calendar, this is the final Senate look. Take a quick look at all the bills. Are there any bills that Senators wish to separate out for policy or other reasons? If not, is there any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With all bills on consent calendar number 3 having received 47 votes in the affirmative and a constitutional majority, they are declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
next calendar, excuse me. Senate third reading calendar number 4, consent number 4.
All right, Senators, this is third reading calendar number 4 with bills and consent. They are on third reading for final passage. Senators, take a quick look. We've got about 8 bills here. Any bills that Senators wish to separate, vote separately? If not, is there any discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Affirmative, all House bills on consent calendar number 4, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. We've got one more consent calendar. This is calendar 5. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 5, consent number 5.
All right, consent 5. Consent 5, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bills on this one. These are on third reading for final passage. Any bills that Senators wish to separate out? We'll give it a moment to just review quickly. All right. Any discussion? If not, good. All right. Appears not. All right, then, no discussion. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, all House bills on consent calendar number 5, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. All right. Do we have another consent? I think we do. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 6, consent number 6.
All right, consent number 6. Consent number 6. We've got 3, 6, 7 bills on this calendar. Take a look, Senator. These are on third reading for final passage. Last time the Senate will see them. I think all of them have not been amended, so the last and final chance. Okay. Any separations? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, all House bills on consent calendar number 6, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. All right, we are on Senate third reading calendar number 7, not a consent. We're going one by one now. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 37, amended, Delegate Valderrama, procurement, prevailing wage applicability.
House Bill 37 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the Senator from District 9. Oh. All right. House Bill 37, third reading. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 37, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 853, Chair Ways and Means Committee, Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses, Account Alterations. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 853 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 853, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 908, Delegate Carey, Unemployment Insurance, Employee Contributions. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 908 is on third reading for final passage, and this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 908, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1002, Delegate Charkoudian, Unemployment Insurance Revisions and Special Enrollment Period for Health Benefits. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 1002 is on third reading for final passage. This is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1002, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1138, Delegate Carey, Unemployment Insurance, Maryland Department of Labor, Accountability and Oversight. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 1138 is on third reader for final passage. This is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1138, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1148, Delegate Collison, Secretary of Health, School-Based Health Centers, Guidelines and Administration of Grants.
House Bill 1148 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1148, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got third reading calendar number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 78, Delegate Pena Melnick, Public Health, Maryland Commission on Health Equity, the Shirley Nathan Pulliam Health Equity Act of 2021.
House Bill 78 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If
Mr. President.
Yes, Chair recognizes Minority Whip.
I'd like
Has 2
to
minutes to
explain my vote. House Bill 78 unfortunately states that racism is rooted in the foundation of America. In 1776, when our founders declared independence from the British Empire, they laid a new foundation for America with the creed that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among those life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Upon the walls of this chamber are the 4 Marylanders, Samuel Chase, Charles Carroll, William Paca, and Thomas Stone, who signed that document. All of them served in this body. They committed treason against the most powerful king in the world to form a nation with guaranteed freedoms. Also in our State House, George Washington resigned his commission and began the tradition of democratic elections in America. Nowhere else on this planet is there a republic with as much tremendous diversity as the United States. Our founding creed has brought America further into equality than any other nation. While America was and continues to be an imperfect union, we've always strived as a people to form a more perfect union. America's founding set the standard for human rights and influenced independence movements across the globe. Freedom does not come easy. America fought a civil war which resulted in the death of over 600,000 Americans, and young Americans across generations have sacrificed their lives to extend our freedoms abroad. This resolution is an oversimplification of history. It unnecessarily denigrates our founders, who in a world surrounded by kings and tyrants fought to form a republic that enshrined constitutionally guaranteed freedoms. Freedoms not granted by any king, but instead today granted by mere birth in our nation. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Do any further senators wish to explain their votes? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 78, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 80, Delegate Charkoudian, Department of Transportation Urban Tree Program Establishment.
House Bill 80 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 80, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 107, Delegate Lewis, Prohibition on Vending Machine Sales of Drugs and Medicines, repealed.
House Bill 107 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 41 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 107, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 174, Delegate Brooks, Public Utilities, Investor-Owned Utilities, Prevailing Wage.
House Bill 174 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 174, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 261, Delegate Branch, Business Regulation, Battery Charge Fence Security Systems Regulation.
House Bill 261 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 261, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 298, Delegate Charkoudian, Utility Regulation, Consideration of Climate and Labor.
House Bill 298 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 33 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 298, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 368, Delegate Bagnall, Task Force on Oral Health in Maryland.
House Bill 368 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 368, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, we've got calendar number 9. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 569, Delegate Clippinger, Electricity Net Energy Metering Limit.
House Bill 569 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 569, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 598, Delegate Kelly, Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Applied Behavior Analysis Services Reimbursement.
House Bill 598 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 598, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 599, Delegate Kelly, Public Health Long-Term Care Planning.
House Bill 599 is on third reader for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 599, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 658, Delegate Chi, Transforming Manufacturing in a Digital Economy Work Group, Making It in Maryland.
House Bill 658 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 658, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 894, Delegate Haynes, Education, Community Colleges, Collective Bargaining.
House Bill 894 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 32 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 894, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 919, Delegate Bagnall, Maryland Insurance Commissioner, Specialty Mental Health Services, and Payment of Claims Enforcement. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 919 is on third reading for final passage. Senators, this is an emergency bill. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 919, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1293, Delegate Ampry, Baltimore City West North Avenue Development Authority.
House Bill 1293 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 47 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1293, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Yes, Chair recognizes the Senator from Prince George's.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to be sure that I was recorded in the green on House Bill 894.
894. I believe, let's double check. Yes, Senator, the Senator was recorded in the green. All set. Any further vote changes, missed votes? All right.
Mr. President?
Yes, Chair recognizes Senator from District 2.
Yes, on House Bill 658, make sure I'm recorded in the green, please.
I thought that might be the case. Yes, are there any objections to Senator on the green? Without objection, so ordered. We'll mark the Senator in the green on. That was just, that was on
Yes.
658, the manufacturing one. All right. We are on third reading calendar number 10. Number 10, we got one bill on this calendar. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 1372, the Speaker, Blueprint for Maryland's Future Revisions. This is an emergency bill.
House Bill 1372 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the House bill. I have a floor amendment, if you would.
Would the Senator read the number for the amendment?
203126/1.
All right, give us just one moment. All right, the Senator may explain the amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, this is coming as a floor amendment for myself. The committee looked at these and actually endorsed them and supported them as committee amendments, but we had a technology glitch and it was not streaming. So in keeping with the open meetings, we decided not to use the committee amendments, and I'm presenting them myself from the floor. There are two amendments, Mr. President, members of the Senate. First one is technical and deals with the purpose paragraph. Amendment 2 removes some language that segmented off some of the additional money for community schools. The second part of the amendment changes dates for the introducing and starting to utilize national standards for virtual schools from 2021-22 until 22-23. We call for additional money to be used for community school office in the State Department. We turn that $100,000 expenditure from a shall to a may. Then we also added language that said it is the intent of the General Assembly that summer school be provided in person to the extent feasible if public health metrics allow that to be done. We removed some language called for a number of reports on virtual schools. We thought it was a little premature, and we've replaced that with a technical amendment clarifying maintenance of effort. Mr. President, with that, I would move the two amendments.
The Senator moves the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment say aye. So let me say that again. All in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. All right. Yes, the House Bill 1372 is on third reading. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Yeah, I have an amendment.
Senator has an amendment. Could the Senator please read the amendment number?
It's HB 1372/983220/1.
All right, one moment, Senator. Oh, yes, Senator may explain the amendment. Apologies.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last year we had the Kerwin bill before us, and I tried to put in quantifiable metrics to say what does success look like? And this body rejected that. This amendment simply just has an annual report which shows how we're progressing towards the expected outcomes and also the principles that were laid out in the blueprint. So that's what the amendment does. Thank you.
All right. Senator moves the amendment. Chair recognizes the floor leader.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, we are attempting to put an oversight board in place that's going to hold accountability, the spending of money, the need to ensure that the money spent wisely and we get productive results. I'm not sure the purpose of this or why we need it. We have put some explicit language about outcomes in this bill as well as in the original Kerwin legislation that was vetoed last year. So while I appreciate the sentiment, I'm not sure it's necessary and would urge a red vote.
All right. Question is on the on the amendment. Chair recognizes the. Are there any senators who have not yet spoken and wish to speak? If not, Chair recognizes the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the concerns with the Kerwin was we have that board, the AIB board, in place, and they monitor the implementation. And if you look at the reports throughout Kerwin, it's how did they implement it? How did they implement it? Are they on plan with implementation? What this simply does is say the expected outcomes and the goals that we set forth, and if I believe this was 2 years ago as we put this in place, and part of the principles of Kerwin was that it elevates overall student performance to be among the world's best and eliminates achievement and opportunity gaps. If we monitor the Bay every year and see its progress, how much more should we monitor what our children are doing? We need to know if it's doing good. We don't need to wait 3 or 6 years later and do it. They actually have some that would do that then at 2030, I believe, is when they would do that, the second one. So people are investing a lot of money into this program, billions, tens of billions of dollars. And if it was our money, I guarantee we would have progress reports like this. But when it's not our money, and one thing it does frustrate me a little that the advocates come in here and they say they don't want things like this because it really holds their feet to the fire. And it really gets my goat when the commission comes in and says, here are 3 or 4 key pillars that you need to have a successful education, world-class education. And we put it in the bill, and the advocates come in and say, we really don't want that. For example, when we say teacher certification needs to be a requirement, and the advocates come in and say, well, we really don't want that. That's a little too tough. We know that's what the study said. After 3 years, that was one of the key factors that said you would have the world's best education if you had certification. And the advocates come in and say, well, just change it to encourage. We like that better, if you just encourage us. And this body accepted that. If you were putting $40 billion of your own dollars in that, you would want to take the commission's recommendation and work with that. All this does is says, let's every year, like we do at the Bay, let's just see how we're doing against our goals. Thank you. I'd like a roll call, please.
Thank you. Senators requested a roll call. All right. On the amendment, any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone
Mr.
wish
President,
to change?
yes, my vote.
Chair recognizes the senator from District 5 has 2 minutes to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm supporting this amendment because we just heard about the Oversight and Accountability Board. They are spending the money. They're spending the money. We want to be sure that they're spending the money, not just spending the money, but spending the money on properly reaching outcomes that we want. So I support the amendment. I think there's a good amendment to offer, and I'm happy to vote yes.
Thank you, Senator. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? Chair, in explaining his vote, I believe that there are 12 reports as part of the blueprint implementation that are an annual report. And one of the things that MSD has actually requested desperately is less reporting, not because of wanting outcomes. I would say I deeply appreciate the minority leader's sentiment behind it. My challenge would be that expected outcomes is almost too vague. We need to see specific outcomes. We need to see that the money that we are making or that we're putting into this program is having the achieved outcomes. That should be our goal throughout this to ensure that there's fidelity to the plan. So appreciate the spirit, just don't think that this quite achieves the objective. For those reasons, we'll be voting against the amendment. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 29 votes in the negative, the senator's amendment fails. Chair recognizes the minority leader.
One last one.
All right. The number, Senator.
It's HB 1372/473120/1.
20/1. 1 sec. Senator may explain the amendment.
This amendment is just a clarifying amendment. One thing that's actually bothered me in this process, and I voiced this in committee, is that we are in a rush to get this, and I understand the timing on the bill, but we have basically already had a conference committee on this, and we haven't even gotten done third reader. So I know where these amendments are going. I think especially this year, when the public's not allowed down here, I was concerned. I voiced it in committee. I'll voice it out here. There are 47 senators out here. They should have the right to put an amendment on third reader and not have a few people meet and decide what's going to happen on this bill. Again, I understand the spirit of it and understand the timing of it and trying to get to the governor's office. So I truly understand. From a legislative process, it concerns me. So I know where this amendment's going. So I'll actually withdraw it and not even go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator withdraws the amendment. All right, are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Chair recognizes Senator from District 34.
I have an amendment, and I do have a question for the floor leader, if I could.
Yes, Senator, if you could give us the amendment number first.
I don't have an amendment. I have just a question on the bill for the floor.
Oh, on the bill. Apologies. Yes, Chair, will the floor leader yield? Appears so.
Sure.
Senator may proceed.
So, as you know, I had a lot of concerns about this Accountability Implementation Board, the power of this board, and I see that in the current bill, the House bill, on page 17, it says the board shall have plenary authority over all matters within its jurisdiction under the subtitle, including intended outcomes of the blueprint for Maryland's future. In the event of a conflict between the decision of the policy of the board and decision of policy of any other entity in a matter within the board's jurisdiction, the board's decision or policy shall control. So it says it's plenary authority. So I wanted to know what that meant. So I took a look, and I looked at Cornell Law School says in their legal online dictionary, it says it's wide-ranging, broadly construed, and often limitless power for all practical purposes. I looked in Wikipedia, and it says absolute terms with no review or limitation upon the exercise of that power, and assignment of a plenary power to one body to vest all their bodies. And then Translegal says the absolute power of authority of a governing body. So what's the reason for providing this body with such final absolute control over all matters?
Thank you, Senator. It's basically to clarify the conversation we held here last year. You know, some people didn't believe we needed an independent oversight board. Some did. I was among those that did. We weren't confident in the State Department, the State Board of Education, and in fact, about 3 weeks ago, I think I heard you say the same thing when you said you were less impressed and didn't have confidence in the State Department and the State Board. They were sometimes too frequently willing to say yes. And the idea behind the Oversight Board, the AIB Board, was to have 7 experts appointed by the governor, the speaker, and the Senate president, and a nominating committee who would look at things independently with clear vision and decide if the goals of the current commission were being fulfilled and if money should be released. There was some confusion, and I have to tell you, the state superintendent and the state board didn't like that, because implicitly there was a critique there that there wasn't total confidence in them handling all this money and these new initiatives. So this language is to say, when it comes to Kerwin, when it comes to the blueprint for Maryland's future, if there's any confusion about the blueprint, the AIB supersedes the State Department. It puts it out in very clear language. And I would point out one other thing, Senator. We're talking about this year. It should have been in place last year. We'd passed this legislation and it was vetoed. Much of this bill is because it didn't go into effect last year. We could have had oversight and more accountability 10 months ago or 12 months ago. But we had to come back and do that part again, change the dates because it was vetoed. Obviously, the second part of the bill is because of the COVID response. We have to have summer school, we have to have tutoring, and we want to make sure that money is spent appropriately. And we have safeguards in here. We have pre-tests, we have post-tests, we have conditions for how that money should be spent and those programs should be put in place, which I think far surpass what the State Department of State Superintendent has done previously.
So, I guess back to my original question. So we have this body who's going to be, it's not like an IG who just says, somebody else made up the rules, I apply the rules to the facts, read them and weep. In this one, these guys, this Accountability Implementation Board has a lot of discretion to shape what the final outcome is supposed to be, where the money goes, who's complying, who's not complying. It's pretty malleable target that they get to determine. So now we're saying that you have plenary authority. There is no appeal. Can you think of anybody else in the state government that has plenary authority to just simply say, nope, Howard County, we disagree. You can't spend the money that way. It's our, boom, we're done. Nobody else can say, you can't go to the courts. You have no appeal. We've made the decision, and there you go. Does anybody else in state government have that kind of authority?
Well, first of all, Senator, I think that's a mischaracterization. I think the blueprint, it has dates, it has formulas, it has general principles of what need to be done, but actually leave flexibility for the locals as to how they do it.
But it doesn't, because if the board disagrees with them, they don't have flexibility. They only have flexibility if the board agrees with them,
Senators,
right?
just a reminder, Senators, just question and answer. If there's a senator has a question, the senator will respond.
Senator, we struck a balance. We didn't want to say, it's free to be you and me. We had to have a plan, and that plan came from 3 years of looking at best practices in this country and around the nation. And we developed a framework and formulas and requirements and timelines. But at the end of the day, we did not get involved in the micromanaging of every local board because we know it needs flexibility. But that doesn't mean they can do what they want. We looked at tutoring experience, we looked at CTE experience, and they have to remain in that framework, but the day-to-day operation is up to them. They've got to submit a plan, and there eventually will be a staff after we get this up and running, again, a year late. But to say that they have total discretion on running the 24 jurisdictions, that's simply not true.
Senator, I'm just going by the words of the bill. And I'm trying to find if there's any place else that you know of in the entire big code of Maryland or in the COMAR where any other body has plenary authority over the massive amount of spending, which entails a massive amount of policy making. Does any other body have plenary authority so that their decisions are not subject to review by anybody? Does anybody else have that kind of absolute power?
Yeah, in some ways the State Board of Department of Education, the State Board of Education does. That body that you criticized 3 weeks ago as not having confidence in.
Well, I certainly have much less confidence in this body, I can assure you, Senator.
Obviously.
But we're just sort of dancing around here. And I'm not going to get an answer, I can tell. But the idea that we are imposing plenary authority, you don't seem to have. I don't know. We've not said this exists in any other of the 50 states. We've not said this exists at any county level or at any state level. We've just now come up, we've supercharged this, and for some reason, which I'm not privy to, we decided to amend the bill this year when it hasn't even, as you point out, hasn't even been operational yet. And we've already decided that based upon from last year to this year, we suddenly decided that we don't just need authority, we need plenary authority, this absolute authority. I'm just trying to understand if there was some conscious discussion that was taking place, or some example of some other state or nation where they said, no, to run education, you have to have this body that has plenary authority. Can you just enlighten me on that side of this?
Unfortunately, I can't cite the annotated code of the other 49 states and where that language is used. I just can't.
Well, obviously what that means is that we just pulled this one out. We just decided we're going to give these guys plenary authority. No thought was given to what that means, that this absolute authority, we're imposing this upon the entire system. And that's really that's sort of disheartening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to simply respond, Mr. President, some people opposed the AIB last year. They didn't like it. They said, let the State Department do it. Let the State Board of Education do it. The 25 people, or I think 23 or 24 of the 25 people on the Kerwin Commission, Democrats and Republicans, county representatives, school board representatives, all but I think the state superintendent said, you know what, we need an independent body and they should have the power and authority. And we actually came up with a system of a nominating committee that gave checks and balances, including the governor on the second floor. So look, if you don't like the idea and the concept of AIB, you're not going to like the language in the bill. I understand that, and you will vote your conscience.
I appreciate that, Senator. It's just that we amended it. Typically, when we amend a bill from one year to the next, we do that based upon some experience. Somebody has a discussion and says, well, the authority that we gave them was insufficient. So now we have to ramp this up, supercharge it, put big superchargers all over it, and make it plenary authority. And what I'm finding out is, no, this was just an amendment somebody put in here, and there it is, and we're going to live with plenary authority without anybody really having a good sense of how that's going to impact the overall operation of all this. Thank you.
All right, House Bill 1372 is on third reading for final passage. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not...
Mr. President.
Chair recognized Minority Leader.
Yeah, I just want to explain it real quickly. We had the battle on Kerwin last year, and I had some concerns about were we actually going to achieve what we said. But when I thought about this bill, I understood there were certain concerns, but I know COVID has really devastated many students across the state. And this provides federal money to help them get tutored and summer school, and our kids desperately need that, and we need the money to do this. So while I don't support last year's, I believe this is important to get to our kids because they really need it right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 38th District has 2 minutes to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to explain my vote. I first want to thank the floor leader for including the summer school in-person learning amendment as part of the package. Students attending summer school have already been struggling with virtual learning, and I think the in-person learning will be beneficial to the students and to the teachers. I am voting against the Kerwin revisions bill for the same reasons I voted against the overall Kerwin bill. It's based on my continued concerns from my local area on affordability, the need for prioritization for fair funding formulas in every local jurisdiction, and this has affected especially my county, my home county, Worcester County, the need for more local flexibility, and the discussion we just had about the tracking of outcomes. I did want to let the floor leader and my colleagues know that as we move forward, I'm committed to working with my colleagues and all stakeholders to address the challenges that I believe are still with us: affordability, fairness in funding, local flexibility, and measuring outcomes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 9. Senator has 2 minutes to explain her vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to explain my green vote. I think this is a really super important bill, and I want to thank the President, the Speaker, and both committees who worked so hard on it. Lest we get too far down in the weeds, we need to get our teachers and our students back in the classroom as quickly and as safely as possible. And this bill is a significant step in the right direction, providing support for summer school, mental and behavioral health, and so much more. Over the course of the year, I've talked to many different people in my district who had concerns about the year of school outside the classroom. We had parents and kids talking to us about mental health concerns. I met with a group of teachers who were grappling with online school this fall, and that was heartbreaking. They felt like their entire jobs had transformed, and they felt their students slipping away from them. I spoke to superintendents who were frustrated with managing what they felt was an impossible situation. The effects of COVID are going to be with us for a long time, whether it's classroom time lost or health issues, they'll stick with us. And I just wanted to say to all those people that I talked to over the summer that this body is doing everything that we can to make sure your children get the world-class education they deserve and to make sure they can get back to their friends, back to their teachers as soon as possible. So once again, I'd just like to thank the floor leader, thank both committees, and thank the body for this good bill. And I'm proud to cast my green vote.
Thank you, Senator. Any further senators wish to explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 37 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1372, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. I want to thank the Education, Health, Environmental Affairs Committee, Budget and Tax Committee, and the chairman for this. Was a complicated, this year everything is complicated, but again, this one was one where there was an override. They couldn't draft it. I want to thank the staff who has been working tirelessly to match the statutory language. It just, we have found ways to get through the complex. So thank you for the leadership. All right, we've got one more bill. We've got a special order calendar. This is calendar number 37. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 331, Senator Lee, Adoption, Access to Birth and Adoption Records and Search, Contact, and Reunion Services. Question is on the adoption of the favorable report.
Question is on the favorable report. Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have not received the amendment yet. I would have liked the courtesy of the gentlewoman from District 7 to have shared that with me over the weekend so that we could resolve this constructively and not have to spend a lot of time on the floor when we have so many bills before us. So I would have liked to have the courtesy of having the amendment prior to this time. But I just wanted to clarify what this bill really does, because I know there has been some concerns expressed by this, and they're valid concerns. And I just want to tell you about what it really does. This bill just ensures that adoptees have access to the same basic vital records and information about their origin as any other person by letting these adoptees who are at least 18 years of age have access to their own birth certificate information. I just wanted to tell you that the House of Delegates last year passed this bill with a wide bipartisan support of a vote of 131 to 7 last year. And this year, there was no opposition by social workers or by domestic violence or women's groups. There was only one group that opposed for reasons I don't really believe it was really on point on the bill. Even our former colleague, Congressman Jamie Raskin, took time out of his very hectic schedule to again support this bill. These birth records belong to the child, not the parents. There is no other group other than adoptees that the government gives a permanent right to parents to seal the vital record once the child becomes of age. I believe there's also a health equity issue at stake. When we seek medical treatment, doctors always ask us about our family history or background to determine if the patient has some predisposition so that patient can take proactive action through early diagnosis or to treat a current serious illness. And some insurers will even pay for a test, a genetic test, if they believe that perhaps that patient's family has a predisposition. However, adoptees can't even get access to this information to their doctors because they're barred from getting this vital life-saving information to save the patient's lives or to treat their illness. And today, modern science and technology, through DNA testing, like 23andMe, allows anyone to find out about their birth information, so there are no privacy issues here or discouragement to have the child adopted. With this technology, a birth mother already knows that her child could contact her anyway The only barrier is the adoptee having to spend considerable time, money, and resources to find out about their own identity, who they are, what ethnicity they are, who are my parents, my sisters, and my brothers. Where's my family? What are their medical history? Am I susceptible to certain diseases? That's why other states already, such as politically diverse as New York, to Alabama, Oregon, have already passed laws to end the denial of an adoptee's basic right to know their full identity. This is also about fairness and good public policy. Social stigma about a child born out of wedlock has changed over the years, and our laws, they are a work in progress, and we are sent here to update our laws so that all our citizens are treated equally. We have done this before when we have passed laws to ensure that women and people of color are treated equally and with fairness. I just wanted to provide you with an experience, especially this, shared to us by former Maine State Representative Roberta Beavers, who conceived a child out of rape in 1965, and it took her 30 years to seek out her son. She is a strong supporter of this bill and also asked if we wanted her support or to talk to any of my very esteemed colleagues about this bill. And she also advocated for similar bills in Connecticut and other states. She indicated that mothers often don't know the importance of what they're doing when they relinquish their child. And she also had a hard time understanding how any mother would believe any mother would want to be protected from her own child. Representative Beavers said statistics in states that have allowed this access for adult adoptees indicate that adoptions have remained the same and that abortions have decreased in those states. And it was found that less than 1% of birth mothers signed a contract preference expressing their unwillingness to be contacted. We also asked the Maryland Department of Health about the number of fetal disclosures filed, and they said that since 2017 there's been 0. Representative Beavers sees this as a human rights and social justice issue for adoptees who had no say in the matter. And finally, a co-host of NPR's Morning Edition and Up First, Mr. Steve Inskeep, who is an adoptee and was raised in a very loving family, in a March 26, 2021 New York Times op-ed said that he had felt for 50 years the state in which he was in at that time denied him the story of his life. Equality would end an information blackout that robs people of their identity. Mr. Inskeep cited Jessica Collin Green, who in her Connecticut Law Review article observed that access to one's genetic background, heritage, and ancestry is a birthright denied only to adoptees. And an adoptee is expected to honor a contract made over his or her body without his or her consent. And Mr. Inskeep noted that the state had to decide for me as a newborn, but the state's original plan was to deny my identity for life and even for my children. Esteemed colleagues, I hope I can clarify some of this, and I respectfully ask for your support of the committee report. Favorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, question is on the adoption of the favorable committee report. Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, as a point of personal privilege to my neighboring senator from District 16, I was in conversation with our hardworking amendment writers over the weekend. The writer wanted to get it right. We were emailing back and forth. I'm trying to make a bill that I think is flawed a little bit better with an amendment. I received the amendment, the completed amendment, in my inbox today at 5:33 p.m. At that time, I was watching executive nominations. I didn't even have the time, since I was paying attention to some of our very important nominees and appointees. I did not even have time to carefully review this, let alone share it with anyone else. So, Mr. President, I do have an amendment for the body's consideration.
Senator, we're still on the favorable committee report. We're still in the report. Do we want to move forward with the report? I thought that might happen. Chair recognize. All right. So we'll take the amendment after the report. Senator, Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Yeah, I would just ask for a roll call on the second reading report. And if I could, I know it's late in the evening, and I know people want to go home, but this bill has been floating around for at least a decade. This is not a good idea. There's a reason that this has been defeated time after time after time. This bill should not be on the floor. What this bill does is breaks a promise the state of Maryland made primarily to mothers, a promise that we would not give out their personal information. Not only is it break a promise, what we're doing I think is wrong morally when you break a promise, but it breaks the law. We put in the law we would not give it out. We undo it with this bill. And not only that, but the law currently says at age 21, the adoptee can go back and the state of Maryland will try to reunite you with the mother. And at this point, the mother would have said no again. So over a 21-year period, a mother asked for her privacy for whatever her reasons were. And the sponsor actually gave a good reason. So whatever that is, the mothers asked for that privacy. The state of Maryland has told them they would keep it. We should respect it, not break it with law. This is a bad idea, and this is wrong. This is fundamentally wrong what we're doing, breaking a promise and breaking the law and a contract we had with these mothers who gave these children up for adoption. In my opinion, this bill is not amendable. It is not fixable. It should not be on the floor, and we should defeat it as it's been defeated the last 10 years. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 45th District. On the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to rise in support of this bill. I rise in support of this bill because I had a constituent actually reach out to me on behalf of her mother, 62 years of age, who was in search of her birth parents. And that constituent not only reached out to me, but she reached out to me about what other states were doing around this issue and how far they had been advanced much more than the state of Maryland. She had researched and she talked about how in 1999 we moved the needle, but not moving the needle far enough 22 years later. She talked about the political process and this being the barrier in reference to being able to advance and find her mom's parents. She talked about possibly knowing who her granddad was, but having it nailed down to 9 men, but did not want to put that much pressure and figure it out, but knowing that that information could be helpful. She talked about New York. She talked about Oregon. She talked about and sends me op-eds all the time when people are talking about this specific issue. I've been in contact with the health department to better understand what the issue was. I then researched at DLS to be able to better understand the issue that's in front of us. And I realized that our good senator was already working on this issue. And it's no need to duplicate what the challenge is. But there are many more people out there, such as our constituent, and I hope that we can find a great medium. And I think that this bill advances that goal. And that's why I rise in support, not only for the advancement of this bill, but also for my constituent who's been trying very hard to get through the challenges, the barriers that's been placed, and trying to help her mom find who her parents are. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 10.
The world is changing. It's not static. And our understanding of human rights change with it. It is wrong for anybody born as a human being to not be able, at least by the time they reach the age of majority, to be able to know who they are and to whom they are related. I would say, I don't know, I haven't read this bill, and I wouldn't say that a young child has the right to make the decision, but certainly even the people that maybe adopted a child from a child welfare agency or something, at a point might need the information in order to care for the child's health. It just is wrong to say that what we did decades and centuries ago will forever prevent people from understanding their own identity, and especially when there are health care challenges that can't be properly met and maybe could be life-altering or lead to death. Could be because you don't know your genetic makeup. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Senator. All right, any further senators? Any further discussion? We are on the favorable adoption of the favorable report. Senators requested a roll call. Oh yes, Chair recognizes the senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since I only spoke about the process, I do want to talk about the substance briefly. First off, the law was amended, and anyone who wants to find their mother, if the mother wants to be found, can do that today under Maryland law that was amended, I think, in 2002. So that is already covered. The bottom line is, and I don't often quote the Maryland Department of Health, but I'm going to read just one sentence, which is, this bill effectively unseals all of the records without providing any ability for biological parents to block disclosure of their information. There are about 70,000 sealed records for people who were adopted, who were given up for adoption between 1930 and 2000, and they would be immediately unsealed, and the birth mothers would not be notified of this ripping away of the privacy that they sought. Now, if a mother wants to be found, and the senator from District 16, the sponsor of the bill, has talked about genetic testing, if somebody wants to be found, they can be found, either by law or with collaboration through intermediaries. Health information is available, but through intermediaries, so that a birth mother can absolutely share information with an adoptee about family illness, family information, but still stay private. A mother who was raped as a teenager, who became impregnated due to incest, may have married, may have remarried, may have a new family, may have a life, and has never shared with her family a tragic story from her past. It is not the job of this body to rip away her privacy and take away her choices that she made in a really challenging situation. I can say that whether you are pro-choice or believe that that life begins at conception, either way, this bill is not going to advance the interests of mothers, families, or adoptees. I urge a green vote again, or the motion is
a red vote on
against the second reader report. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 15.
Mr. President, I actually had a process question. Now, gentleman from Frederick mentioned that this bill is not amendable, and therefore we should reject the committee report. And yet the floor leader referenced my seatmate from District 17 has an amendment. Is it appropriate to ask the senator from the 17th about a potential amendment? It could weigh possibly, one's view on the committee report if you had some idea what a potential future amendment. Just a process inquiry.
It's not available. It's not before the body.
Gotcha.
It doesn't exist.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mm-hmm. Chair recognizes the senator from the 38th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a tough one all the way around, because I think we really have an obligation to weigh the rights of the adoptee to know with the right of the birth mother or birth father to protect their privacy. And currently in Maryland, we have a good balance that allows biological parents that option to sign a form indicating they prefer to be disclosed or not to be disclosed or contacted. It's called a disclosure veto. And in current law, we recognize that over time, circumstances change, and biological parents may change their mind, and initial veto disclosure decisions can be changed. So we offer in Maryland a state-supervised service of confidential intermediaries that provide for the option for an adoptee or biological parent to apply for search, contact, and reunion services within the department. But what this bill does, it changes that balance. We move away from the protection of the privacy that was promised to the birth mother and birth father and go too far in the other direction of the adoptee's right to know. And there is a way that we can work out that the adoptees can have access to their family medical history. That process can be worked out. But this bill would require the disclosure of the birth parents' names, something that, again, they were promised that confidentiality for whatever the reasons. So I'm very concerned that this bill takes us out of whack, out of the balance between the right of the adoptees to know versus the privacy, the rights of privacy to the birth mother and birth father. And so I would urge a no vote on moving forward.
Thank you, Senator. Any senators who have not yet spoken wish to speak? If not, Chair recognizes the sponsor of the bill.
Yes, esteemed colleagues, this bill is about fairness and good public policy. As I said, our laws are a work in progress, and we have been sent down here to update our laws so that all our citizens can be treated fairly and equally. And we've done this before. Some laws are very unfair, and some have violated our civil liberties, civil rights, but we've changed them. And I have to say that the current law is not balanced. If you were born between 1947 and 1999, you can have no access to your birth records. And the new law, the law that was passed moving forward 2000 onward, that allows you to get your birth certificate, you can be blocked if there is a veto disclosure filed. But you know, what we want to do in this bill is to have a contact preference form attached to the certificate. That form will allow to inform how the individual wants to be contacted, if they want it to be contacted at all, or if they want to be contacted through an intermediate. And also technology undercuts the argument that there's a privacy issue, because you can find out already who your birth parents are by just using the latest DNA technology. So there's no privacy issue there. And as Representative Roberta Beaver said, this is about human rights and social justice. It's also about obtaining your life or death medical records, or providing the family history so that your doctor can diagnose you and treat you for serious illness. I respectfully ask my colleagues, please vote favorably on this committee report.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from District 33.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very emotional subject for me. First, we're going to talk about some facts, and then I'll tell you some stories. The fact is, for the last 12 years, I've been the family genealogist, and about 7 years ago, did my DNA swab. It didn't disclose who my father was. It didn't disclose who my mother was, because they didn't put any deposits on file with Ancestry.com. I did find a whole bunch of my third cousins, young people who have an interest in finding their family tree in Ireland or France or wherever we may be coming from. There was nothing about my parents. Whatever they tell you about, you're going to find your ancestors immediately a generation or two above you, that's full of inaccuracy. I can tell you I found a third cousin who lived a mile from me my whole life, and I didn't know it, and we got together, and we compared notes, and it was wonderful. But third cousins are different than birth mothers and birth fathers. That's number one. Number two is, I'm 71 years old. In my business as an insurance agent, I wrote a lot of life insurance. Not once in the thousands of people I contacted did anyone say to me, gee, I wish I knew who my parents were so I could figure out my health records. With the technology we have now, with the blood analysis we have now, with the DNA testing we have in our medical labs, I've never heard it. They say people have a problem. They want to know this critical information. But I'm sorry, not in my lifetime have I heard a real life, honest story about somebody becoming sick and not being able to diagnose their problems. It may take a while, may take very good doctors and maybe even some specialists to figure this out. I find the argument about the health of a person hollow at the best. This issue strikes, and now for my two stories. This issue strikes home to me in my household. For those of you who know, my wife and I have been very active in the pro-life industry. My wife was a counselor at a pro-life pregnancy clinic in Bowie. And boy, does my heart go out to young girls who get pregnant and are forced to give their child up for adoption. There's no other word for it. Their parents say, you're going to ruin your life. Your minister, your priest says, give up the child. And then years later, they have deep, deep regret. And I'm very happy that my friend from the Judiciary Committee reviewed for all of us the current practice of being able to make the inquiry. That should relieve an awful lot of issues. But my story tonight is about Susie. And Susie showed up at my wife's counseling clinic in Bowie. And she was a 32-year-old nurse. Not some young 16-year-old who was misled down a passionate route. Not a 22-year-old who was out partying one night. She had a serious long-term relationship with who she thought was a pretty reliable guy. He had a job. They were sharing an apartment together. And the day she told him she was pregnant, he kicked her out. Packed the bags, sent her out the door. Now, this is a nurse. She was making reasonable money at the time, but she had no place to go and no support. So around September of that year, my wife and I brought her into our house. At the time, we had 4 children, and we had an extra bedroom and a bathroom in the basement of our little townhouse. And she stayed with us. And she was so distraught because she wanted to be a mom. She wanted to have a relationship. She was so depressed. She couldn't work. She couldn't get anything done. And here's the clincher. The little baby boy was born on Christmas. She called him Christian. And she was with him for 4 days. She bonded with that child. She loved that child. But she recognized within herself she didn't have the ability to be the mom that he needed. She didn't have the family relationship at home with her parents from Pennsylvania. So she made the very, very difficult decision to give that child up for adoption. She made the decision. She was a mature woman, a nurse. She knew what she was doing. And she signed the papers that said she did not want to be contacted. It's really interesting because my wife and I celebrate Christian's birthday at Christmas time because we remember him, and I'm sure she's more entrenched than we are, but it was an important part of our family journey to help her move on and make sure the little boy was given to a wonderful family. We've lost contact with Susie. But I have an impression that if she was approached today, she would stand by her decision not to have contact with that child. Why in the world would she tear this kid's world apart with doubt, with insecurity, with why did you leave me type of things? Now, whether or not that adopted family gave him the information, I can't tell you. But I can tell you that it is my opinion she made the right decision and that she released her hold on that child so a family, a good unit could work together to raise this little boy Christian. And I think they actually changed his name, so I'm not disclosing anything confidential. So I don't know how much I should share with you, but I can share with you that in my family, in my house, Finding parents is a real issue. And we had to struggle with it, and we came to a solution, and it was very difficult. This bill is wrong. We have a method for children to reach back out if the parents want it. This DNA stuff is great for the cops. Good luck with that, officer. But this bill will tear families apart, and I want no part of it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator from District 39, Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. And my apologies, I had hinted that I wasn't going to stand up again, but after listening to the stories tonight, I have to say a little bit more about our situation, our family situation. And let me first say that I am a tremendously pro-choice person. I don't want somebody else telling me whether to have a child, not have a child. That's my decision. But I have this little grandchild whose mother, as I said, had an indiscretion. She had a husband and 3 kids. She didn't want any of them to know about it. She could have gone and had an abortion, which, I mean, a lot of people do, but she decided that she wanted that baby to have a life. So my daughter and her husband were able to get that child. And she's 5 years old now and having a wonderful life. They have seen the birth mother out in public in South Carolina. She wants nothing. There's no recognition. She wants no contact at all. And that's her right. She could have had an abortion and had been done with the whole situation. But she had that child that was able to join my family. So I can't support this bill.
All right, question is on the favorable report. Any further discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 31 votes in the negative, the report fails. All right, senators, the desk is clear. The desk is clear. All right, look, we got through a lot today. We've got a fair amount tomorrow, but actually tomorrow's going to be okay. I think later this week, Wednesday's probably going to be pretty intense. So keep Wednesday as a potential second session. Just keep it in mind. We'll see how far we can go. Tomorrow will be light. Committees will be working hard to prepare for Wednesday. Let's do committee announcements. Chair recognizes the Chair of Finance. Anything for Finance before tomorrow? Nothing for me. Chair of Finance? Nope. No, nothing for me. B&T? All good? Oh, waiting. Let's do Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll have a voting session tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Tomorrow at 9 a.m. in JPR.
Voting at 9 in B&T.
Voting at 9 in B&T. All right. Other select committees, delegations. Believe we may have a protocol announcement. Do we have a protocol announcement? No? Nothing? All right. I think we have a birthday today. Maybe, you know what probably happened is that the list was printed prior to the senator joining us, and so it may have not made it onto the Senate protocol calendar. Chair recognizes the senator from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. Permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
Thank you. Today, I just learned, is Senator Michael Jackson's birthday. Happy birthday
Hey
and
now.
welcome to the Senate.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Excellent. All right. He's exactly where he wants to be on his special day. All right. Any other announcements before we do a quorum call? Nope. All right. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President?
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46, but really 47 senators in the chamber, and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Tuesday, March 30th at 11 a.m.
Without objection, so